Hi, this is Caitlin Classing. This is the training vlog 5 for Pops, which we're going to start by saying happy birthday. He was born on June 21st, 2015, and here he is 4 years later. It was pretty special that Dan and I both happened to be there the day of his birth. In this vlog, now we're going to start to look at his first few competition outings. So we actually have to go back. This took place in May. And this was at our starter trial at Fair Hill. And so you can see here, he's quite inconsistent in the contact, quite fussy in the bridle. And like we talked about in the last training vlog, what we're working on at home is to try and get him correctly connected from back to front. So what I'm seeing or what I'm feeling here is that he's not going correctly enough at home, that when we get into a show and he's a little bit spooky, he's a little bit nervous, and I have to have a little bit more of a feel in my hand, he's not enough in front of my leg that he's going to stay connected through there. So I think it's an interesting thing taking young horses into the dressage ring for the first time. This would be his first time in the small ring. It's quite a little space to do their work, especially when, like Pops, they're a little big and unbalanced. So I actually have been talking with people elsewhere that say in other areas of the world they do the young horse competitions without the dressage phase being in a small arena, which I think is kind of interesting. But regardless, I would say I wasn't happy with the dressage test. I was happy that he stayed pretty relaxed. He was obedient, did things he was supposed to do when he was supposed to do them. But I thought the overall quality of the work left a lot to be desired. But that said, we wouldn't normally video the 4-year-old's first dressage outing. It would be just to get him in the ring, get him used to being in a busy warm-up, seeing the judges' booth for the first time, and to put him in a place where he's going to learn that his job outside of the ring at home stays the same when he gets into the competition arena. So from that point, I think it was a successful outing. But just being that we are always looking to do better, I felt that this test left a lot to be improved upon. And now we have his little show jumping around. He's I would describe it as wily. He's definitely got a little bit of his mother's redheaded streak, which luckily we enjoy. But he jumped all of the jumps, I thought, very well. It was more in between the jumps. You'll see as he turns away from home, he gets a little bit like, wow, maybe I'll fall out the right shoulder, and there's a jump there, and it surprised me, but then when I get there, I'm going to jump it pretty well. So we didn't get any footage of the cross country. He jumped all of the solid fences fine, but I'll tell you that when we turned to the water jump at Fair Hill, he got quite bulky and nappy, wouldn't go anywhere near it, wouldn't make eye contact with it. So for me, I think it would be at this point really easy to come home from that event and just say like, oh, my horse doesn't like water. He's chicken, we have a problem with water. But I think this is really where it's really important to be a trainer and to let the competitions inform the training rather than train for the competitions. So to me, I look at how he behaved in the dressage test where he was quite inconsistent in the contact and how backwards he got when he was put in a situation where he's a little insecure, like the water jump. And I say that's the same thing. So he lives in a field where he actually has to walk through water. He's schooled water before. I don't think it had anything to do with water and had more to do with being asked to go somewhere that he wasn't comfortable going and not really being up in front of my leg, which is the same thing that he was doing on the flat, where when I put my leg on, rather than carrying me forward and reaching out for the bit, he got a little bit balled up and behind me. So there you actually saw, this is his next event. That was the warm-up, which I was really happy with. He stayed very relaxed in the warm-up and was able to go in a long open frame and stay pretty consistent out to the bridle. And now you can see in the test, I'm much more forward than I was in the test at Fair Hill. At Fair Hill, I felt honestly like if I put my leg on, I wouldn't get a positive reaction where he'd move his hind feet and start to reach out for the bit. I felt like I'd get a reaction where he'd ball up underneath of me a little bit more. So here, this test, I'm much happier with the quality of the work. This is still a schooling event. I'd say for our program, we try very hard not to put young horses into a recognized event until we know that they're going to go and not, I say, embarrass their family. So he still gets, some at points what I'd say almost aggressively above the bit. But I'm working my best as a trainer to teach him that just because we're in the ring doesn't mean that I'm going to take my leg off and start pulling. When you want to come above the bridle, you're still going to have to push out to the bit, and we're going to stay consistent in the rules, both at home and in the ring, so that he's learning it's not something different. So overall, I was really happy with this test. I thought it was a big improvement. You can see here in the walk he stays very relaxed, and in the warm-up where it was so busy, he also stayed quite with me. And the relaxation is great because then you can actually ride the horse. So at Fair Hill, where he was a little bit excited, it became a little bit of survival mode where you say, okay, I have to use the tools that I have to get you through the situation, but it wasn't actually training. And we're always looking to train the young horses, not just stay on. So I think overall, big improvement. You can see here, this is the only part in the test he got pretty green on me, and that was my fault. After the walk, I should have just worked a little harder to push him off of my right leg, get him a little bit more correctly bent so that by the time we got to the canter transition, he would have been ready to go. But again, you can see that building from the walk. So I think if we ride the test where we're thinking of each movement preparing you for the next, that's the best way to go, whether you're on a green horse or an upper level horse. But right from the free walk, I was so happy with that. When I picked him back up, I didn't put enough pressure on him to get him correctly bent off of the new inside leg, so by the time I got to the canter transition, he wasn't ready to give it to me. But yeah, overall very happy. And now we can see the show jumping. I think he was much more rideable here. He kept a rhythm better. He was still looking at the jumps. I think he does that a little bit more because he likes to give himself an adrenaline rush more than he's actually worried about it. In this line, I felt like I went to wait and then got backwards. So he was looking, but I should have just kicked him on for one less step there. But overall, he was able to keep his rhythm through the turns. He was letting me ride him. He wasn't getting drawn towards the warm-up or to the other horses. So I thought that this round was an improvement and is headed in the right direction. And now you can see we move on to the cross country, and we do have here footage of the water jump. So we did go and school a few more water jumps, but like I said, the main focus of my schooling after Fair Hill was, buddy, you just got to move when I put my leg on. You've got to be up in front of my leg. So you can see here, he's still not going to be overly bold going into it, and that doesn't really matter, but what matters is that he understands that no matter what I ask of him, when I put my leg on, he's got to move his feet, which is what was missing at Fair Hill. So here, you can see I brought him back down to trot so that I could keep him in a little bit of a shorter, quicker step, so that when he got to the lip of the water, he did do a little jump, but he didn't feel like he had to leap in. He felt like he could take his time and understand it, and I felt like overall he was very relaxed and happy to be out cross country. So now the rest of June, that was the beginning of June, the rest of June he's had off. He'll have a big 5-week vacation, and then we'll pick him back up towards the middle of July and kind of see where he's at. I think sometimes a vacation can be the best thing for a young horse. He'll have time to grow up a little bit, think about what he's learned, and come back ready for a little bit more. So we're very excited to keep you updated.